Alright, so I'll start here by doing a new part, as is normal. A standard part. And the first one we'll do is this number 1. Now this number 1 looks pretty straightforward. Well, at least maybe it does. But it would be a little bit tricky to do it with the way I've showed you how to do things so far. But I'm going to show you a way that hopefully will be more efficient, that you can do it pretty quickly. So the way we're going to start modeling this shape is draw what would be like a front multi-view. So what it's going to look like from the front of this shape. It's 5 units tall. And then this first part, this first quadrilateral part, is 3 on top and 5 on bottom. And then it sticks out past here 4 more. So I'm just going to draw that in a sketch. So I'll start with making a sketch on the XY plane. And start with just the line tool. There's 5 tall, 3 inches here. I'll come back down to the bottom. It's 5 inches on the bottom. And then I don't really care what the angle is, I just know that those 2 lines connect. And then I also know it extends an additional 4 units on the top and bottom. So I'll go 4 units here, 4 inches, and 4 inches here, and connect it. Now I've got what would be a front view of this shape, if I were to draw it as a multi-view. So I'll finish this sketch, and I'm going to do an extrusion. I'm actually going to do 2 extrusions, but I'm only going to extrude it as if I'm extruding from the center of the object. So I'm going to extrude this part 1 inch here, and this part out 3 inches here. So I'll do 2 extrusions. I'll do this part here 3 inches. And then remember, once you do an extrusion, it consumes the sketch, so I have to go to the browser and make that sketch visible again to do a second extrusion, but this time just 1 inch. And then I'm going to hide that sketch again. Now I've got half the shape, and I can use a tool built into Inventor that will allow me to take advantage of symmetry in an object and simply mirror whatever geometry I have. So in the middle of the toolbar under 3D model, there's a pattern tool, and mirror is one of those options. So I'll click on that. I want to do the second kind of mirror a solid. So I'm going to click on this second button here. And then I just need to choose the mirror plane. And the mirror plane is going to be the back side here of this object. So I'll click on that and press OK. And my shape's done. So let's go on and let's do number 4 here. I'll do a new sketch. All right, for number 4, I'm going to start by drawing, modeling this shape and ignoring sort of this ramp piece right here. So I'm going to draw it by doing a front view again, but I'm just going to basically ignore this part here. So I'm going to draw 1 rectangle for the bottom, and then quadrilateral here that's got a chopped off angle for the top, and then extrude these in 2 different extrusions. So that's 8 by 2, and then it's 3 tall here, and it's 6 on top, 8 on the bottom. So I'll start with a 2D sketch. I can start with a rectangle and make it 8 by 2. And then with the line tool, I'm going up 3 over 6, and then just down at an angle to finish it off. Then with 2 extrusions, the bottom is going to come out 5 units, the top is going to come out 2 units. I have everything except for this middle part right here. Now, drawing in this middle part is a little bit tricky with what we've learned so far because I don't have a place that I can put a 2D sketch on to extrude it. If I would put a 2D sketch here, I can only extrude up, and that's not going to work, or here it's going to go out. So I need something in here that I can put a sketch on. So I'm going to use something called a work plane. A work plane is just, we already have the origin planes, but now we can make our own planes wherever we want that we want to put sketches on. So underneath work features in the middle of the 3D model is plane. And if you click the drop down, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of work planes. And the one I want is the first one, or the second one down, offset from a plane. So I'll click on that, and then I choose a plane as my point of reference. And I'll use this one right here as my point of reference. And then I'll offset it. And I want to offset it the distance back this feature is, which is 3 inches back from this surface here. So in my offset plane, I'm going to put 3. I think I'm going to need a negative in front of it. -3. So you can see I'm drawing a plane, or I'm just making a plane 3 inches back from this edge here. Now with this work plane, I can put a sketch on it. So I'm going to go to create a 2D sketch, and I'm going to click on this plane. When you click on a plane, you always want to click on the yellow outline edge of it, and it'll highlight. It says here it's work plane 1. And now it brings me into a sketch view. So now I'll just skew my view a little bit so you can see. I'm drawing a 2D sketch now on a plane that's halfway through my shape. Not quite halfway, but a part of the way through. I actually want to use 2 of the edges as part of my 2 of the edges of the shape as part of the drawing I want to make. So I can use something called projected geometry. It's a big fancy term for meaning show me where these things intersect. So project geometry is one of the tools in the sketching panel up here. So I'm going to click on project geometry. And then I want this here and I want this plane here where they intersect. So just click on these 2, and it creates for me yellow lines in my sketch that represent where those pieces of geometry intersect my plane. And now to finish the sketch, I simply need to connect the endpoints to make a triangle. So I'll use the line tool, and I get little green dots to show me I'm snapping to those points, and I connect those. And now I've got a little triangle made here. Now I can finish this sketch, and what I need to do is then use that triangle. That triangle that I drew is this piece right here, this shape right here. I want to extrude that back 2 inches. So I'll do an extrusion, selecting, oh, it didn't like that. All right, I'm going to go back into my sketch and trace over my yellow lines with blue with other lines. So I'm going to trace over them here. That's going to work better. Now they're all blue. Okay. So I just traced over those yellow lines with lines again. And now when I go back and do an extrusion, I can select this little triangle here. Well, let me try that one more time. And try an extrusion. Okay, it still doesn't like it. So, if I get into this situation where it doesn't like it, I'm going to use Inventor to help me. In my extrusion box, you might not get this problem, but if you do, in the extrusion box, there's this little red plus here, like the Red Cross. It's emergency services. Examine profile problems, and it'll even try to fix them for me. So I'm going to click on this little red plus, and it's going to say an open loop was found. Close the loop or use edit loop, edit sketch, and project geometry. So I'm going to go to next. I'm going to ask it to close the loop and press finish. I'm going to select the curve that's connected to the start end of the loop. I'm going to press yes, and I'm going to press cancel. I'm not sure if it did it, so let's try it again. No, didn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to go back in this sketch and see if I can fix it again by simply erasing the lines that are there and drawing them again. All right, and let me see if that will extrude. There it will. So sometimes the easiest thing is just to erase the lines you have if you're having a problem with making a sketch or making an extrusion from a sketch. Now the only thing I need to do is change the direction because I had my plane right here where this triangle is. I want to go 2 inches this way. So I'll change my direction and press OK. I can hide that work plane just so it doesn't show up. And now this shape is finished. So that idea of using a work plane is very useful and important in doing different types of geometry, drawing different sketches in your objects if it's not on a flat surface that's already there. All right. So for number 11, we've got an oval shape cut out here. We've got rounded ends here, and a circle that goes through here. So we've got a bunch of stuff we have to do. The way we're going to start, though, is we're going to pretend that there are no holes in it and that there are no rounded edges. So we're going to build this like it's rectangular here and like this is rectangular here. Okay? So this would be at its tallest point, it's 6 inches tall and 4 inches wide, and it goes back 4 inches in depth. And here it sticks out at its longest point 7 inches, and it's 2 inches tall here. So in Inventor, we'll do a new part. And I'll do a 2D sketch on the XY plane. And just to review those numbers, 6, 4, and 7, and 2. So I'm going to go up 6, over 4. I need 2 left, so I'm going to go down 4. 7 this direction, 2 down, and back. So it's up. The tall part is 6 inches by 4 inches, and the lower part is 2 inches by 7 inches. Then I'll finish that and extrude it out 4 inches. And now I basically have the shape without any of the rounded features on it. Now, one way we can make rounded features in Inventor is by using something called a fillet tool. It looks like fillet, but it's not Friday and we're not going out for fish. It's fillet, and it's a round over tool. If you do any woodworking, you use something like a router or a shaper to make a shape like this, and it would have a curved blade that would be able to go along the edge of a piece of material and cut a rounded curve to it. So we're going to use this fillet tool, and the thing you have to decide when you use the fillet tool is which edges you want to fillet and how big of a fillet you want. Well, we want to have a 2-inch radius on this whole thing when we're done, so it goes all the way around in a half circle. So we can select both the front and back edges and set the radius at 2 inches, and it'll preview for us what it's going to look like, a nice round edge. And there's no even need to use it twice because the front 2 edges also have that same 2-inch round over. So I'm just selecting the edges that I want. If you accidentally select too many edges, you can always hold down Shift and deselect an edge. But that cuts off and rounds over those edges. Now the next thing I can use is the hole tool. There's a tool that will allow me to make a hole, and you can see that there's a hole that goes straight through this piece right here. We're going to assume it goes all the way through. The hole has a diameter of 2 inches here, or a radius of 1 inch. and it's concentric with this outside curve, meaning that the centers are the same, and it's an even border around. So I'm going to go to the Hole tool, which is in the Modify panel. And the first thing I want to choose is the placement. And the placement, as I said, is concentric. So if I click on that drop down, one of the options is concentric. So I'll choose concentric. Once I choose concentric, I have to choose which plane I want to put it on. I want to put it on this surface here. And then I have to choose the concentric reference, meaning give me something that's also curved that would have a center point so that I can reference from that. So I'm just going to click on my outside curve, and it snaps it right in the center there. And then the other thing is it's automatically a through all hole, which is what I want. I've set, well, what's the diameter? What would be the size drill bit I would use? As I said, it's 2 inches. Probably would use a hole saw. And it's now sets the hole at 2 inches, and I can press OK. I've got a nice hole that goes all the way through. Finally, this lower portion here, I could picture this as being a bracket or something that would go, some through bolts would go through here, but it has some adjustment space. It's this oval shape, a true oval. Difference between an oval and an ellipse. Anybody know what the difference between an oval and an ellipse is? Well, an oval has semicircle ends and flat sides. An ellipse is does not have flat sides. It's curved all the way around. So instead of using the hole tool, there's no oval hole tool we can use. We're just going to draw a sketch that's going to match this shape and then extrude it cut through. So I'm going to make a new sketch on this surface, and I'm going to use the line tool. Now, you might ask yourself, or you might ask me, how can you use the line tool? We have to make curved edges. Well, there's something really cool about the line tool. Yes, if we click with the line tool and just make a straight line, it just gives us a straight line, which I do need for each side of my oval. But then, if we hover over the point where we stopped, you can see that the dot turns gray. And then instead of clicking and letting go with the mouse button, if you click and hold the mouse button down, it will turn into a tangent arc tool. And right from the line tool, you can then do an arc that's attached to your line. So I'm going to do a semicircle here with that tangent arc tool. I'm going to come back with a straight line that matches up across my way there. And then again, starting in the same place I ended my line, hold down the mouse button. I'm going to pull down to start the tangent arc in this direction. And I can come around in the semicircle to match up to the other side of my shape. Now, if you successfully do that shape, congratulations. However, it's not constrained because it's all green there, and it's not in the right spot nor the right size. So we can constrain it. The first thing we can do is we can constrain this lower semicircle to be concentric to this outside edge, having the same center. Because if we look at the drawing, it is concentric, and we can tell by these little marks there. So up in the constraints panel up at top, one of the constraints is concentric. It's the one that looks like two circles, one inside the other. So I'm going to click on that and just click on the two curved features, this one and the outside edge, and that'll lock that in place. Then the other thing I can do is set a dimension for how far apart these lines are. And looking at the drawing, they're 2 inches apart. So I'll just click on both lines with the dimension tool and make those 2 inches apart. And I'm almost done, but I haven't determined how far apart these circles are or how long the straight sides are. Looking at the drawing again, the straight sides are 3 inches long. So I just have to select one of them and then say it as 3 inches long, and then my sketch will be fully constrained. I'll finish this sketch, and then I can finish the model of this shape by doing a cut extrusion that'll go all the way through, and it's going to go right through that bottom when I press OK, and my piece is done.